Okay, good afternoon. So thank you for the committee for inviting me to present you this project. First of all, I would like to ask you to project yourself in a nursing home. For a few seconds, just imagine that you are about 80, maybe in a wheelchair, maybe wearing a denture, maybe having some memory disorder. And for your meals in nursing home, you have to choose only one proposal out of the 4 that are on the slide. Choosing what I want to eat, keeping enjoying my meals, cooking my favorite dishes, or giving my opinion to the cooker. So you can only pick one of these proposals, keep it in mind, and I will come back to this slide at the end of my presentation. Back to scientific features. In previous works with my team, we observed that 8 out of 10 older people living in nursing home do not eat enough to fulfill their nutritional needs. Well, of course, it is not because the nursing home does not provide them with enough food, but because aging is often accompanied by a decline in appetite and food intake. These have dramatic consequences as it impairs the nutritional status of the older people. In fact, 1 out of 2 older people living in nursing homes are undernourished or at risk of undernutrition. Undernutrition is the hidden enemy of our elders. In fact, a decline in food intake, in appetite, will induce loss weight, and in particular, loss of muscle mass, a decline in immune defense. Older people that are malnourished are at higher risk of fall, fractures, disease, hospitalization. And when you're suffering from a disease, obviously, this will worsen the decline in appetite and in food intake. And this will worsen until a state where it's not possible to recover, to go back and have a better nutritional status. So at the end, malnutrition is decreasing the quality of life and the life expectancy of our elders. Of course, there are many factors that cause appetite loss and food decrease in the institutionalized elderly. Some are related to the individual, such as oral health impairment, a decline in the ability to perceive taste and aroma, disease, taking drug, depression, social ruptures, such as widowing. But the entrance in a nursing home, whether voluntary or not, is also a very important disruptive event in the life of an older individual. In fact, regarding meals, the older individual will have to face sanitary rules, nutritional plans, organizational constraints, and above all, he will have to face the food habits and the food preferences of those who are now in charge of feeding them. So, the sociologist Philippe Cardon reported that kitchen in the nursing home was often perceived as a black box by the residents. And this echoes the citation of Jean-Pierre Corbeau: "The opacity of the food sector at hospital makes hardly easy the incorporation of signs and symbols which may allow the eater finding his cultural matrix and habits." Building on this foundation, the objective of the ENGAGE project was to develop engaging strategies that allow older people living in nursing homes to stay involved in food activities, accommodating for their expectation and preserved ability. To achieve that, the project ENGAGE gathered a multidisciplinary consortium with consumer behavior, nutrition, and human science, and a multi-actor consortium with academic professionals and public policies. One of the core of the project ENGAGE is to rely on participatory research and methodology centered on the final user through co-creation sessions. I will not present all the study that was already carried out in this project, but I will focus on one that was performed with 20 older people living at home, 20 older people living in a nursing home, and 20 people from care staff, so both from health and cooking staff of nursing home. We, through semi-structured interviews in the older people or through focus group, discussion group with the care staff, we investigated with these people, with these participants, which strategy, which engaging strategy could be developed in a nursing home to have the older people, the older residents, be engaged in their meal, in the feeding behavior. So this represents, just to give you an idea, more than 20 hours of discourse to be analyzed, to be listened and analyzed. And we mainly use thematic analysis to decipher the result. So 4 dimensions have emerged from these discourses. The first one that was common to the 3 categories, older people living at home, in nursing home and care staff, was the choice, being able to choose. Being able to choose my portion size, my table mates, the time of my meal, the place of my meal, but above all, being able to choose what I eat. And in fact, I dream of a cafeteria model in nursing home to allow older people being able to choose what they actually eat. Another important dimension was to make the meals enjoyable, make the meals have a good, pleasant moment. That was also a dimension common to the 3 groups, and this involved a nice food offer with high-quality food, fresh food, appealing dishes, but also a nice environment. And this is very interesting because behind this dimension, there is the fact that you need to enjoy something in order to get engaged in it. So this seems to be a prerequisite if you want older people. Well, it's of course quite obvious, but it's really important to make the meals great again. The last 2 dimensions are more interesting because there are some discrepancy between the different groups. So the first one is about engaging the older people with the action. To do food shopping, to peel, to dress the table, to cook, and so on. And this is very interesting because this was mentioned and highlighted by the older people living at home and the care staff, but not by the older people living in nursing home. In fact, when you are in a nursing home, you don't care so much about peeling your vegetable for your soup for the dinner. In fact, it's less important. What really counts for you is to be able to eat without help. So it's very interesting to be careful about some ideas that we can have and that can fail the target population. And finally, the last dimension was about communication. Something that was highly highlighted by older people, whether they were at home or whether they live in a nursing home, was the possibility to communicate, to provide feedback, to give ideas for the menu, the recipes, the seasoning, to provide feedback, to be listened. That was something that's really strongly emerged from the discourse of the older people. And I will just give you an example. So sorry, I will tell it in French because it's better to keep its essence. Donc, passer dans les chambres et demander aux personnes ce qu'elles auraient envie de manger, il faudrait que ça soit comme ça en maison de retraite. Avoir des idées de plusieurs résidents, mais que ça ne soit pas une directrice qui d'abord n'y mange pas, qui va faire les menus suivant son goût. So that was something that was really revendicated by the older people, but absolutely not mentioned by the care staff. And here it's very interesting to see a discrepancy between the target population and the care staff. And this is more or less echoed the presentation of Edith Salle-Vullemont yesterday on the relation between physician and patient. So in fact, as a perspective, the project ENGAGE aimed at testing on the field, so in nursing home, strategy of communication, strategy to improve the communication between the older people living in nursing home and the care staff. Of course, because of the COVID situation, as you can imagine, all the experiments in nursing home were stopped, so we have now to wait to carry out this study. So just to conclude, come back to my first slide. I don't know if a lot of you pick up the proposal giving my opinion to the cooker, but in fact, this is probably the most important things for the older people living in nursing homes, still being able to give their opinion and to be listened. Choice, choosing what I want to eat, is also a very, very important dimension. So, this echoed the citation of Malon. Multiple aspects of life in nursing home are governed more by necessity than by personal choice. And well, it's probably time to change, and I do hope that the project ENGAGE will contribute to do it at least a little. So I thank you, all of my colleagues in the project, and the scientific community, as well as the students. And I will be happy to answer your question if you have any. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for this great talk. So as a chairman, we have the privilege to be able to ask the first question. So in your study, did you ask whether the healthcare people would eat what they provide to the elderly people?
That's a very good question. Some, in fact, in nursing home, the care staff can eat what is also proposed to the residents. But what is important to understand is that it's only one meal during their work day, not all the meal. And it's probably make a big difference because for the residents, it's the 3 meals of the day, 7 days of the week, and all the days. So it's probably make a difference.
Yeah, I agree with that. We have also kids who have been to school, and sometimes they don't eat, depending on the school.
Definitely,
so,
yes.
Is there any question in the audience? We have time for a few questions.
Yeah.
Hello. Thank you for your work at the beginning, because I think that this work is with high humanity. It means you care about the elderly. And I just have a question that the number of the participants in this research is not genderly equal. I mean, the number of female participants is much higher than male participants.
Yes, well, in fact, in this population, we are around 75, 80 of age mean. Of course, the proportion of women is higher than the proportion of men. So it's very difficult to have a balanced sample. It was not so bad. Well, the numbers are small, but we look at any difference between male and female, not, in particular looking at engagement by the gest, by the action, and there was no difference between women and men, in fact. So.
Okay, and I hope that you will keep doing this research because, for example, I think you can ask an idea on how to make the elderly involved in some work together, like growing a vegetable by themselves and enjoying their results. I mean, the vegetable harvested by themselves and grown by themselves. It will give them the pleasure to eat their products.
Yes, in fact, yes, I agree. In fact, several nursing homes are making a therapeutic garden where the older can grow their vegetable or aromatics. But what is interesting to know is that usually these vegetables are not used in the kitchen because of sanitary rules. And there is really a deep reflection to have and to see what is the best for the older people. So that's an important point, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.